because I had to deliver meals. I mean,
We'll call the January 9th Lincolnton City Council meeting to order. If we could all stand for a moment of silence and then follow it with the Pledge of Allegiance, please. Thank you. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. You've had a chance to look at the agendas. Are there any additions or deletions to the regular agenda, Daphne? Okay. Then I'll entertain a motion to approve the regular agenda as submitted.
I'll make that motion.
Motion by Jill. Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Anyone opposed? Motion carries. You've had a chance to look at the consent agenda items. I'll entertain a motion to approve the consent agenda items.
Motion to approve.
Motion by Kevin. Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Motion carries. I'm going to take liberty as the mayor to, he was in the consent agenda items, but I would like to recognize Joe Metz. Joe, come up here.
He ain't going again, has he? 47 years.
The reason for recognizing Joe, well, I've got two reasons. One is I like to pick on him, and so this gives me another chance to pick on Joe. But the main reason is, and I guarantee you there are very few people that have ever worked any job. He's worked 47 years. 47 years. Now, Joe has already been recognized by his peers, but I just felt like that this is such a milestone for us and the city, and for Joe. I've had to put up with Joe for years. I've known Joe, we were talking about it the other day, he stopped by the house, and I told him, I said, my God, Joe, I don't even remember how long I've known you. But Joe has been one of those that you could always depend on. If I needed anything, and this was way before I was mayor, I knew I could call on Joe. He's that type of friend and that type of dedication. And the city is losing someone, and I hate to say losing, because he'll still come around and pester us. But we're losing somebody that I dare say will never have another employee that works for the city for 47 years. Joe, as a friend and as the mayor, we appreciate it.
Come here, Joe. Go. I'm gonna miss you, Hey, buddy. How you?
Now, I'm going to give Joe a chance to talk. He won't do it, but I'm going to give him a chance.
Well, he's prepared, I'm sure.
Joe,
I ain't good at talking about it.
it's your last chance.
All I can say is that the city's been good to me over the years. I've had some bad times, I've had some good times. But, I've always been treated fair. When I came in, if I was late, I'd call someone, be ready to get me. So just come on when you can. And, other than that, it's just, I'm not good at words, so I'm thankful I made this far.
Well, hey, now you can get to do all those to-do lists that your wife has had for years. So, hey, I know that you'll still stay busy, but Joe, stop by the house anytime.
All right.
Okay. Wow. I know in my case, I made 30 years with the schools, and I was so anxious to leave after those 30 years. I tried to put it all behind me. I can't imagine anybody putting in that much time at the same place. But Joe, we appreciate you. Okay, next item on the agenda, turn back to it, is public comment section. Any other ones? Trent? You got 3 minutes. Oh, and while Trent's coming up here, let me, no, come on, hey, I'm not going to talk that much. Anybody that had a chance to go to the Apple Drop, it was one of the best, if not the best event that I think the city has ever had. And thanks to Trent and all the volunteers.
I'm just a pretty face to it all, just like you. There's a lot of other people behind me that make sure it happens, and I just sit there and smile, right? And make sure people get up on the stage when they're supposed to.
And hopefully next month, we'll put on the agenda to recognize all the volunteers.
Yeah, I mean, next month we'll really dive into it because I want to really show you the figures to it. Sorry, Trent Mason 207 Mockingbird Lane. Let me go ahead and say that. Once we get the place right, the information from that, and we can see more into it. Like we'll have a presentation so y'all can see, the money that the city provides, LTA provides, like where it's going, and and how it is truly helping our downtown. But before I even talk about that, the one person who's in this room who is selfless and has done more for the downtown than probably all of us combined is Betty Floor. And she's here tonight. She's DDA. Our group is now underneath Betty. And, we only had one night. Our one night is, New Year's Eve. She had Santa House for a whole month. And it was 3 nights, every weekend. And that's coordinating Santa, that's coordinating all the vendors, that's people taking pictures, all the volunteers. That lady right there deserves a big
rides?
The
carriage rides?
Carriage rides? I mean, everything. It all comes down, that's the person who leads it all. And just like her, and when it comes to our group for the Apple Drop, it's all about the group who helps put it on. Nothing happens if just me and Betty have to do something by ourselves. It is the people behind it. And for what Betty's leading for us right now, and see the revitalization, and also a partnership with LEDA and planning department to see what's happened 6 years ago. Because if we talk about right now, the Apple Drop, 6 years ago when it first started, a couple hundred people, right? During the steering committee, one of the things that we talked about today was, just how many downtown businesses were open. 6 years ago, you didn't have those people that could be open because those storefronts were not. They weren't occupied. This is where we're going, and it's great to see everybody being on board. We have a leader in Betty who's willing. Tom's just her employee, I guess, is what it is. That man comes to save you every time. If there's anything that's happening, it's like all of a sudden here comes Tom Floor pulling up with a vehicle full of stuff. At the same time, I got to go. And say Santa House is really where it brings it first and foremost, because so many people find out about the train, and then they find out New Year's, hey, that train's going to be there, and that got them excited. So it helped us because we don't know how many people are going to be at down there. We don't sell tickets. We're sitting here thinking it might only be a couple hundred, but all of a sudden it's thousands. And it's to see the first 3 blocks of Main Street completely full with people. is mind-blowing, and it's an amazing feeling to know that all that hard work paid off. It also, from our side of the committee, it doesn't happen with everybody else. And I've got to say thank you to all the city employees. For Ashley, she does so much. Her and Taylor, really help push us through. Chief Hebner came out on his day off. He's out there putting out cones. Chief Green, thank you for the officers. We had 3 or 4 of them down there. Todd's down there when he's not even supposed to be down there, and he's working. Nathan gave us Kara, and I took away from her working many a days to make flyers and banners and everything else, and the whole rec department staff. All these people come together to because we all believe and we all want to see the city succeed, and just want to say thank y'all at this time, for the support that y'all give us. All right. I went over about 4 seconds. He took the time. He took some of my time. Yeah. All right. Thank you.
Thank you, Trent. Okay, next item on the agenda is our public hearings, and I'll open up the first public hearing, ZMA-3-2024, and I'll turn it over to Gene.
Good evening. To get situated. Okay, this first case is a property on North Aspen Street. It's PID 83196. It does not have an address because it's a vacant piece of land. This piece right here in red is the property we're talking about. It's currently zoned general business, and they're asking to rezone it to R8, which is residential. When you look at these colors, this darker color is general business, and this color here is R8, so it's right there on the line. The lot is only 0.316 of an acre, so the smaller size of this lot makes it less attractive for a commercial use and would probably be better suited for residential use. This is just an aerial so you can see. There is a house on this side, but it is currently used as a business. This is the vacant lot, and this is a home, and that's the furniture store behind it. This is just the street view. It's this lot here. And this is just a different view from across the street so you can kind of see it. So what the ordinance says about amendments to text and map is that except for conditional rezonings, neither planning board nor the city council shall evaluate a rezoning petition based on any specific proposed use or development of the property. The petitioner shall refrain from using any graphic materials or descriptions before either body except those that would apply to any permitted use in the requested zoning district. So then I just put you a list of what's allowed in R8. Single families, 2 families. When it says daycare center, that's actually just a daycare center that's run out of somebody's home. Customary home occupations, those are when you have a home office in your house. Family care home, that's a single family home as well. Essential services, that's, pump stations, stuff like that. So just so you know, we have to base the decision on anything that can be allowed there. The land use plan has this in a mixed use residential commercial planning area. And so this would be consistent with what the land use plan says. You can see it up here. Staff comments on this. If the rezoning is approved, a zoning permit would be required from the city of Lincolnton, and a building permit from Lincoln County would need to be obtained. The sewer connection would need to be made to the rear of the property and the water connection in the front. NCDOT would not require a driveway permit because there is an existing curb cut there for them to use, but they would need to get an encroachment agreement for installation of the water tap, and then erosion control would require a single lot permit. The statements that we always look at, there's this statement of consistency and reasonableness for approval. This is consistent with the land use plan because it's designed for true high-density residential uses, associated small-scale, and pedestrian-oriented offices and retail uses. It's reasonable because it develops underutilized vacant land, and rezoning to R8 follows the intent of this planning area. If you did choose to deny, your statement of consistency and reasonableness would just be that it's consistent with the land use plan, but you might desire a commercial use in that area. Planning board did vote unanimously in favor of approval of this project, and they did recommend the following actions: to recommend approval of the rezoning of the property from general business to R8, and to approve the statement of consistency for approval of the rezoning request. Any questions for me?
Could you put that picture back up?
Yeah, the street view or the zoning?
Yeah, well, that's it. Yeah.
So it's just right on the line, that zoning line. It's general business to one side and residential to the other. And they're proposing a residential use.
Any other questions? Is there anyone else here to speak to this?
I don't think so. Daphne, did anybody sign up for this one?
No one signed for this one.
And Matt is not
Matt,
here.
no?
He's not here. I'm not sure why, but
Okay. Then I'll entertain a motion to close the public hearing.
So moved.
Motion by Roby. Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Motion carries. Now, I'll entertain a motion to approve the recommendation of the planning board. That involves the two motions there, two actions there.
I'll make a motion to approve that.
Okay, motion by Kevin. Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Motion carries. Okay, Gene, I'll open up the next public hearing, and you just stay put because it's CZ-6-2024.
Okay, this is for a property at 319 North Generals Boulevard. You can see right here the property in red. The existing zoning is general manufacturing and commercial, and the proposed would be a conditional rezoning to commercial center, which is our zoning district that is for bigger retail uses. The current use is it's a vacant lot, but it was previously the Textile Piece Dyeing Company, and the proposed use would be a large retail store with up to 3 outparcels. This is an aerial. You can see the concrete pad is still there, but the building is gone. And this is the Walmart across the street, Tate Mill Road, Newcastle. This is a street view. We'll talk about this, but this intersection here, if you were to turn to the left, that's Walmart. Their main entrance would be to the right, and this signal would become a 4-way stop, or 4-way light. This is Tate Mill Road. This would be a back entrance. And currently in talks with DOT, it looks like they're going to require a signal at this intersection as well. This is just a view of the property. I'm going to actually escape from this one so we can look at I can zoom in better on this one. This is the site plan for what it would look like. It's a 128,000 square foot building. This side of the building would be for a grocery pickup. The trucks would, this is the dock where they would unload. So they would come in from the main entrance. This is where the Walmart's across the street. There's a signal here. Potentially 3 out parcels. It depends on once they get in there. That site has some technical difficulties, we should say. It's challenging. So they hope to have 3 out parcels that might be other future businesses, but they're going to have to wait and see once they get in there. And I skipped over. My roller's not working good. These are the elevations. This is the front of the store and the side where the grocery pickup would be. There's some landscaping. They're doing it's not a pocket park, but a little pocket area where there's landscaping and benches for people to sit all along the front of the store. It's recessed, and that's 8 feet deep, so it's covered to provide shade. So this is the rear elevation. This is the left side that would be closest to Newcastle. This is the right side where the grocery pickup would be. This is just a look at how the landscaping would be. Their intent, that property is, we can go back and look at the picture, but it's pretty well wooded all along the perimeter, and their plan is to leave as much of the existing trees as possible. And they will be required to come in with some street trees and a little bit more screening on this side and throughout the parking lot. This is just an aerial, so you can kind of see how it would sit on the land. And they will be required a sidewalk on North Generals Boulevard and then down along Tate Mill.
How close is that running to our property, to Hollybrook?
You can see it right here. This is Hollybrook. If you look at your screen, see right here.
Okay.
But there'll be screening as well. See the trees there's a tree line right there, and they're leaving as much as they can at that. So the land use plan currently has this in the industrial planning area. You can see here where it's purple. Hang on, I'm going to make my screen bigger again. But all around it is the planned business planning area. So staff does feel that the planned business area would be more suitable for this land and that we should amend the land use map. And it would make it consistent along North Generals to have it all planned business. There are lots of conditions of approval. We're not going to read through every one, but these are the conditions when staff, NCDOT, city streets, water and sewer, where we all look at this plan and there's conditions that they have to meet in order to make this project happen. It addresses everything they have to have from landscaping to parking to where the water and sewer is going to be. NCDOT did say that the time frame for the signal design will be determined by NCDOT, but any required signals must be operating prior to the store opening. That's a big one, so I just wanted to let you know that one. There's the standard comments that they have to meet Appendix D of the fire code, that they have to have water on site before they can bring building materials onto the site. A big one too, just so you know, is Nathan has requested that upon completion of construction, the developer would resurface tape mill to mitigate any construction damage. So we have the statements of consistency and reasonableness for approval. We do feel like it's not consistent with the land use plan currently, but it's consistent and reasonable in the following ways. It expands commercial development along North Generals Boulevard. It provides pedestrian access from commercial development to adjoining properties. It develops underutilized vacant land, and it reuses an existing commercially zoned property. And if you chose to deny it, the statement would be that it's not consistent with the land use plan, and you might feel that an industrial use would be more desirable. The planning board did vote unanimously in favor of approval, and they do recommend the following actions. Approval of the rezoning of the property from GMC to commercial center, approval of the statement of consistency for approval of the request, that the zoning would be effective once we receive the signed conditions of approval back from the developer or the owner of the property, and amend the land use plan to show the property in the planned business planning area. Does anybody have any questions for me? No?
I think so.
We have the engineer, Carlton Burton's here, Aaron from Target's here. If you have, do you have any questions for them?
Or if they would like to.
Or do you want to speak? Sure. Okay. Do you need anything back up?
No.
You're good.
Sorry, thank you.
Just in case, I'll just click on that one.
Hate for them to travel this far and not get a chance.
Yeah, he didn't know he was coming back to cold weather. Cold weather.
Well, good evening. My name is Aaron Hemquist with Target. Gene has done a great job explaining the project. So the only thing I think I can add to that is that in addition to this rezoning that we need to build the building, we've got a number of permits that Gene alluded to for erosion control, DOT. So we're working in parallel with this effort right now. Our hope is to have all of those permits in place by March, April. So that would allow us to close on the property probably in April and start construction. As of right now, I think the earliest we could probably open is late 2026, and so we've got all these permits, and any delays is probably going to push us to 27. But we are working as hard as we can to get this project through, designed, permitted, so that we can come to the city of Lincolnton. So one thing that I know that was a concern with the neighborhood group, and we're working with DOT, and this is alluded to, but we're planning to put that traffic signal as part of the scope of work on Tate Mill. So I think that's a win-win for everybody in the area. So with that, happy to answer any questions you might have.
Gosh, this is the quietest I've ever seen this bunch. It's scaring me. But
Any trivia?
Music bingo.
is there anyone else wishing to speak to this issue?
Yes, sir. Jocelyn Barber.
Okay, Jocelyn, if you'll give us your name and address, please.
I am Jocelyn Barber, and I live at 326 Newcastle Avenue, at the dead end, up on the dead end of the street. And our concern we have some residents from the Newcastle development, we have met, I think it's the second time, with Aaron, meeting with the planning committee we met with, and Target itself first, and then came for the planning, and now tonight. The biggest concern, I think, with our neighborhood was we've been confined, not being able to get out when needed, and it was saying that the traffic light, and as you know, we have been trying for traffic signal for a while, but the main, I think, 3 houses coming into Newcastle would probably be more affected by than the residents here tonight because we live on up the street. But their concern was how is it going to affect them. And with some plans that Target has already said, you know, we should have asset of getting out. That's our main concern. Tate Mill Road, you know, is Walmart across the street. It's like tire and lube where the people do cut through going into Walmart. So we feel that they would probably do the same when the Target comes. It's just be easier coming down during the boulevard, just cut in there. But we just don't want to be trapped in that we can't, because we know with the other developments going on, we'll be closed in. So I know, you know, retail stores coming is needed, but our neighborhood is just an older neighborhood, older people coming in. We just want to just live comfortable, I guess. The more time that we got left to live without a lot of disturbance, because that will open up. Some people probably don't really know Newcastle Avenue where it's at, but you know, once the Target comes in and the traffic, there will, you know, be people coming. So.
Thank you, Jocelyn. We appreciate it. Anyone else?
Does he still want to speak? No.
Yeah, do you want one of us to address, or Aaron or myself?
Oh, it's up to you.
Aaron,
I would say I think with the addition of the signal at Depot and General Boulevard, I would hope that would alleviate a lot of the turns out of the site and make that an easier movement and certainly a much safer movement than what's there today.
Okay, then I'll entertain a motion to close the public hearing.
I'll make that motion.
Motion by Jill. Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Motion carries. Now I'll entertain a motion to approve the request as submitted by the planning board.
I'd like to make that motion to approve.
Motion by Kevin. Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Motion carries. Okay. Oh, that was a lot easier than I thought. See, anyway, and I'll say this as because I've had the opportunity to meet with you all. It has been a pleasure on our part to work with people that were so easy to work with. And you know, I know that in the long run that won't make a hill of beans, but from our standpoint, it's awfully good to work with people that are willing to listen and like the traffic light there coming out from Newcastle. You know, that's a win all the way around. But we appreciate you. I'm looking forward to having a Target.
Yeah.
I just like to say these people out on Newcastle, I've known them for a long. That's a fine little neighborhood out there, and I certainly appreciate y'all if you please them first. Let that come first. Thank you.
Well, please us first, and then Newcastle. Okay. Next item on the agenda. We're down to item 3 in the regular agenda, and I'll turn it over to Pam for an amendment, budget amendment.
Good evening, Mayor and council members. Before you, I have an amendment that I'd like to add to our current budget, a little over $364,202. Of that money in our general fund is $114,343. We received, thanks to the efforts of Nathan and the Parks Department, a North Carolina Sports Amateur Grant to assist with Betty Park's turf, the fields, and some of their soccer equipment. I know Trent's been wanting soccer, so now we've got money for that. So we got $20,000 for that. Our public safety, both the police and the fire, received a very nice donation from Mr. Menino, $5,000 each. They're going to be using those funds for uniforms and PPE. The fire department also, the police department also received a donation from First Federal for some promotions so they can promote additional officers come in, another $2,500. And they got another $1,000 for Back the Blue. So we've gotten some nice donations from some very nice people, and I commend those departments from doing a good job of reaching out to getting those additional funds. For the most part, it's typical. Our interest income, investment income, permits coming in. I know the planning department has done an extraordinary job this year of their permitting, so those are additional funds in general fund. Our power bill is again our investment income. Our rates have gone down some, but they're still in the about 4.2%. So we're still getting some good investment interest on all of our investments. So that is coming with our power bill. And our water and sewer, we're adding another $144,000. Most of that is Clarks Creek Landing permits and water connections for those. And we got some additional field sampling that the wastewater treatment does for various industries in town. And last, well, it's not last, but electric department again is an investment, and they received some insurance settlements for the poles. We've had a tremendous amount of electric poles being hit, and we're still working on some of those. But give Brent and his crew kudos for the phenomenal job that they've done in getting the power back on, and we're getting results from getting those settlements. And our last portion is for our special revenues. Our AIA grants are coming to a close. They're not finished, but we're getting close to it. And we're adding another little less than $18,000 to reimburse the services of McGill and Birch Environmental. If you have any questions, I'll be glad to answer them.
Any questions? If not, I'll entertain a motion to approve the budget amendment as submitted.
Make a motion to approve it.
Motion by Jill. Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Anyone opposed? Motion carries. Thank you, Pam. Okay, next item on the agenda, I'll turn it over to Chris about a policy on prohibiting viewing of pornographic material on government networks.
Thank you, Council, for having me. I bring before you a policy on pornography. We have an acceptable use policy already in place, but this kind of goes along with the General Statute 143.805 that just came into effect January 1st, 2025, that wants us to adopt a policy to say that we will report any findings to the state CIO. So this is verbiage in front of you, pretty much stating how we're going to do that. We use a platform called Umbrella that kind of monitors where we go and how we go. And if anything's flagged, we'll have to report it once a year. That hasn't really been ironed out yet, but as soon as that comes down from the state, we'll pass it along that way. So, any other questions or anything?
Hearing none, then I'll entertain a motion to approve the policy as submitted.
Submitted.
Motion by Roby. Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Anyone opposed? Motion carries. Thank you, Chris. When you're up, so just stay up there.
I'm up again.
No before proposal.
Okay, I bring before you a no before proposal for 3 years. You guys know this as the fish training that comes out monthly. Some of you are good at it, some of you are not. Not you directly, but I'm speaking as city as a whole. It's hit or miss. So we have enlightened a lot of people with the threats that are out there. So we plan on going forward with that. That's part of our cybersecurity plan going
Thanks
forward.
for using my name as one of those.
That was actually legit. So the fact that we got the legit one with Ed's name on it, everybody knew it wasn't Ed. So that's a good thing. So, but this is a 3-year term. I negotiated back and forth. Everybody's been going up on their subscription prices. So the cheapest we could get it was a 3-year term at dollar amount being 3 years, $16,000, which is about $5,400 a year. which is slightly a bump from what we're currently paying of about $200-300 a year. So, but same stuff, same fish ER tools to be able to hunt down stuff and identify if it's bad or not. And then, of course, the training that everybody loves that comes monthly. So, any other questions?
Okay, then I'll entertain a motion to approve the proposal as Chris has submitted.
Make a motion.
Motion by Mark. Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Anyone opposed? Motion carries. Thank you, Chris. Okay, now we're down to item 4 on the agenda, and I'll turn it over to David Ramsey, and I haven't even, oh, there's David. I started to say I hadn't seen him, but David's got a request for a contract for Becker Morgan Group.
Good evening. As you guys are aware, we started about last March or April when we purchased the XL building on Sigmund Road in January. To turn that into our new public service center, we hired Becker Morgan, which is an architectural and engineering firm, to help us do the designing of our, what we're calling our public service center campus. That phase is over. We have a meeting next week of the group that we are hoping to nail down this final design that we have. So that will move them into a Part B contract, which will take it from the design phase into the schematic phase, all the way through to the end. It's a turnkey contract, which typically architectural and engineering firms charge anywhere from 8 to 12% based on the amount that we're going to spend on the project. For this contract, they're charging us 9.5%. And they're basing that on $8.5 million, so it's $807,500. But that will carry us through until the public service center is done and we move in. And as you know, we're using a construction manager at risk edifice to facilitate the construction part of this project. And if we decide that the budget's $8.2 million, then that's what that will be unless the city makes changes to the design. It's a guaranteed price, so it's just very typical for the A&E companies to charge a percentage of the project amount, and that's what this contract is. Happy to answer any questions. Renaud?
This is in line with other proposals.
Yeah, very much. So it's actually less than what we paid the percentage for the police department. Was that 3 years ago in February? Right. So it'd been 4 years ago when we did the remodel of the Becker Drug Store for the police department.
And one thing, and David's worked tremendously on a lot of hours on this, and staff as well. But you know, when we were initially given the first estimate, it was around 15 million, I think 15 to 16.
15 to 16 million.
And we said, nah, that's not going to work. So we went back to the drawing board, and we're glad to say that we've gotten it down to this amount, and that's you know, considering some of the other construction costs that we've seen around the county, that's pretty good.
What's the timeline on this project?
Well, initially, like I said, we spent the last 9 months going back and forth and trying to get it, but you know, the buildings themselves will be freestanding, so you're not going to have the traditional timeline that you would with a complete construction. I'm going to say the bulletproof work we're going to do on the existing building will probably take longer than the freestanding buildings, but we won't know until it's bid out and so forth. But our vision was, you know, total about 1.5 years, but we didn't expect to be this far into it. But in saying that, I think we've got everybody to a point to where the departments are happy with what they're going to get, and the fact that it's really more usable than what we were going to do before. When you try to put offices in an older building, an existing building, and you've got equipment and offices together, it brings a lot of issues. So, but
Any other questions or discussion? If not, I'll entertain a motion to approve the contract as submitted.
I'll make that motion to approve it.
Motion by Kevin. Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Anyone opposed? Motion carries. Okay, and David, you're up for the remote water disconnect.
Thank you again. Some of you were around 4 or 5 years ago when we implemented a AMI water meter system throughout the whole city. It's called Camstrup. It works really, really well for us. It works exactly as the company said it would. If you go on vacation and your ice maker cuts on, we can tell in our office when it cuts on how much water it uses. It goes down to the 0.02 of a gallon. So it has worked exactly like they said it when we've saved a ton of money on lost revenue for water leaks and so forth. So anyway, back during that time, we also wanted to have the ability to remotely disconnect a water meter. So if Jill doesn't pay her bill, instead of sending a water meter specialist out to her house, we could hit a button in the office and turn her water meter off, which is very difficult to do because, of course, water meters aren't tied to electricity. The electric meter system that we have in works very, very well because, face it, electric is much more powerful than water. So there have been a couple of companies that have come up with remote disconnects, and we piloted, well, we didn't even pilot it, they let us install 2 or 3 to see how well they worked. They didn't. I put one in my house. It ran off of AT&T wireless. It didn't connect because I sit down at the bottom of Laurel Street, kind of in a hole, so AT&T service is bad there. So the gentleman that worked for this company that sold us on the Camstrup meters through Fortiline, which is a distributor of a lot of our products for distribution and collection, he is no longer with Fortiline. He is with another company called Stayline. They're going to be a products distribution company as well, but they also have partnered with a company that makes these remote water meter disconnects. It's a box about yay big, about that thick, and it has a 4 carrier search inside of it, so that if you put it in my house, it will try Verizon. If it doesn't pick up Verizon, it'll try AT&T. If it doesn't pick up AT&T, it'll try T-Mobile, and then there's one other one that it tries as well, and it will pick up the strongest signal. If something happens to that signal during this time, or while it's connected, it will start searching again for the next strongest signal. To make a long story short, the gentleman brought one to our office, and Todd and I helped see the demonstration, and it works really, really well. One of the old problems that they had, not this company, but the other companies, you'd hit the button to turn the meter off, and it would be 2 hours, 3 hours, 6 hours. They couldn't get a time down on, because what's the point in cutting Jill's water off at 10 o'clock if we know it's not going to be till 6 p.m. that it cuts off, and then she pays her bill, and then it'll take another 6 hours for it to turn out. This happens within an hour. It also has another setting on it too called a nuisance shut off, which turns the valve almost all the way off, which lets a little trickle of water go through. So people think they have water, but they don't, and they call to complain about their pressure or whatever, and we tell them they've been cut off for non-payment. Also, for future use, we wouldn't use this on old houses throughout the city, because a lot of the older houses in the city don't have shut-offs at their house. Their only shut-off is at the meter. But some of the newer houses that are built, or the newer neighborhoods that are built, we're toying with the idea of possibly doing away with the manual shut-off valve and putting these in, so that homeowners really wouldn't have any ability to turn their water off and on. That's one of the problems that we have when we have disconnection day. We're going to pilot, we'd like to pilot 10 meters at this point. They're guaranteed for 20 years. The batteries in them are guaranteed for 20 years. We pay for the service and the software maintenance up front. There's no recurring costs once we're in. What else? Did I miss anything, Todd? Oh, the other thing is you might think that, all right, if we install those and there's a water leak somewhere and Todd's crew runs out to try to fix something, well, how they're going to have to wait an hour for it to turn off. No, you can carry a magnet with you. And I used an antenna magnet in my office that day, and you hold the magnet close to the meter and it turns the meter on, and you hit your tablet and it turns it off immediately. It's really slick, and it will save. I think you've heard me say we have normally between 150 and 200 cutoffs every month, and those are scattered throughout the city. If this pilot works like we hope it does, I would like to come back to you and say, I want to get 200 meters, or maybe 100 this year and 100 next year, to hit the frequent flyers throughout the city. And it's really strange, having been with the city for 10 years, it's not necessarily always just the people, it's the address of where the house is. Kevin's a frequent flyer, we turn him off every month. Kevin moves, the mayor moves in, same deal. The mayor doesn't pay his bill. We turn him off every month. It's
That's wild.
You'd be amazed at the same properties with different people over the past however many years. So plus, this will save Adam, our current meter specialist, a ton of time without having to go to Burger City, and well, y'all know the footprint of the water system.
Now, how much more would this than saving the license we had 4 years ago?
No, this is in conjunction with. This is an additional part that goes on the meter that
This is not two separate companies, or?
It is. The meters are through, and the software is through Camstrup, which was a Denmark company, but a manufacturing, and their U.S. home offices are in Atlanta, Georgia. The meter system would stay like it is. Just like we have today, we've got the electric meters on a system, they're AMI. We have a separate software system that we go in, Roby doesn't pay his electric bill, we hit a button that cuts you off. That's not in our main billing and financial system, that's in a separate software system. And this would be the same. It would be just a separate program that we would have in the office that, and Todd's crew would have on their laptops or tablets, that they would be able to cut things on and off. But on disconnection day, my staff would be able to sit in the office and turn water meters off with the punch of a button, instead of rolling someone out to your house to turn it off.
Turn them back on.
And to be able to turn back on.
That's sometimes the hardest thing, is you'll have somebody come pay a bill, and according to what's going on that day, they may not get turned back on for 3, 4, 5 hours because there's nobody to go turn them back on.
Maybe still in the middle of doing the cutoffs, or
Yeah.
You got any idea how much this will save the city of Lincoln in a year's time?
And where will those savings occur?
There'll be some soft cost and hard cost savings. The hard cost savings is we won't be rolling a truck out to as many homes, 12 times a year. Also, we have between 150 and 250 move-in and move-outs in the city each month. This would be ideal for apartment complexes. We wouldn't have to send Adam out there to get the reading when the people move out, then ride out, because then that goes into the apartment complex bill. He'd have to get those, he wouldn't have to go out there and get the reading for that, or turn them on, turn them off. A lot of our landlords have different requirements that they have. That Kevin may want all of his rentals for the electric to be left on, but to turn the water off. So we physically have to send somebody out there to turn the water off. And then when someone moves in, we physically have to send someone out there to turn it back on.
Are those positions taxed at this particular point in time? Are the people doing that, are they covered up, or is this just something we're trying to maybe
Well, we went for.
make things skinnier all around. What are we replacing?
That's what I was thinking.
We're not replacing anyone.
Okay.
We are creating more time for Adam to do other things. Adam is a kind of a hybrid employee with the city. He helps the electric department with installing electric meters, and he helps the water department with doing water meters, and he changes water meters when there's problems, or and just the work orders of the 250 people that move in and out of apartments each month. That's, like I said, the landlords have different, and this will cut down on a lot of his things where we can concentrate more on. We've still got about 400 water meters that still need to be replaced and moved into the new system. The reason why we have that many is because we were waiting on Camstrup to develop larger meters. They originally came out with a 3/4 inch meter, a 1 inch meter, and a 2 inch meter. Well, we have a lot of 4 inch, 6 inch, 8 inch meters that school system, a lot of schools have, that will free up more time for him to be able to do that.
So this will allow us to provide a little better service for our citizens, for people in town.
And I think that's the reason why you do a pilot project.
Yeah.
Let's look at 10 of them and see, okay, is it really beneficial? Or, because within so many months, David and his staff will be able to say, yeah, this is worth the money. Yeah. Or they may turn around and say, nah, this isn't what we thought. But that's why I like the pilot program, because it gives you an opportunity to put it out there and, let's test drive it. And then I think in those months ahead, we'll be able to know that this is a game changer or this is just another add-on.
We have a customer on a rental house out on Salem Church Road currently that some contracting staff live in. They very rarely pay their bill. We go out and we turn them off. The next day we can look at the meter. They've turned themselves back on. We go out and we take the meter out. Anytime we go out and take a meter out like that, Brent can tell you with the electric department and people stealing power, we'll go back and check. Well, they've straight piped from the line to their service line. So
I believe it.
It'll just, it'll cut out a lot of the nonsense.
So this is a battery operated device, and that battery lasts 20 years without charging, without.
Same as our current water meters.
That's crazy.
It would be, if it goes
It's
out.
just like the smoke alarms now with a 10-year.
Yeah.
If it goes out, that's prorated based on the year that it went out. But so far with our water meters, we haven't had any that the batteries have gone bad in.
Is it isolated in such a way? I mean, is there a susceptibility to a hack or an electrical hiccup that could, close everybody's water lines?
It's all individual based on a serial number of this little device. I mean, it's a really.
So it's controlled by a program that you'll have in your office on your computer, right?
Correct.
So there has to be an electrical. There's got to be a pathway for you to connect to it, right?
Cell phone signal.
Okay. And that's not no chance of a hack or a hiccup that would have a mass closure of all the.
You want me to speak to that, David?
Well, I was going to say, Chris will tell you nothing is non-hackable.
Yeah. Right, but I mean,
they would only be able to get to individual houses. I mean, if if they hacked into it, they could turn your water off.
so it couldn't happen in mass.
Well, what would have to happen is a hosted service, so who is it, Stayline? Stayline has a hosted server somewhere. If their server got hacked, theoretically, yes, it could happen. But there's safeguards, there's contracts that say that's not going to happen and this and that. And then there's a fail-safe automatic turn-on the meter itself. If that did happen, we could override it if we had to.
Okay.
So there is an override.
Bypass
But security-wise, everything's done from inside here, two-factor authentication. You have to give your firstborn before you log into a computer. that type thing. So the safeguards that we use with SCADA and everything else are put in place for these type of meters.
Okay, any other questions? If not, I'll entertain a motion to approve the contract, the trial contract with Stayline.
Make a motion to approve.
Motion by
Trial.
Jill. Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Motion carries. Thank you, David.
Thank you. Thanks.
Okay, and Tanya's got some good news about some budgeted positions.
Oh, yes, it's awesome. I have the easy part.
Yeah.
I do have the easy part.
Today.
Mine is just, just doing the paperwork piece of it. Because truly, our police department, Chief Green has done all this work along with his staff. So, back in May, in your memo in your packet, is when you approved for him to pursue the COPS grant for the $500,000. And they were successful in getting that. So now we have these 4 positions that we would like to recruit for. To do that, we have to be able to put it into our budgeted position listing, which is always approved by council. So that's what you have in the packet, is that, yes, Chief Green has been successful in getting the money for the city for these positions, so now we would like to recruit for them.
Okay.
So I just need to have the revised budgeted position list approved by council, which adds those 4 positions.
I'll entertain a motion to have a revised budgeted
Position listing.
budgeted position.
Let's revise that thing.
Okay, Kevin made the motion. Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Anyone opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you.
Tanya. Good news. Okay, next item on the agenda is the airport. And Richie, I know that the county's been working on this for.
I know we thought we were done with the airport, but this was FAA, and Megan, the county attorney, has done an excellent job keeping up with this, and email after email after email, and finally everything was done. So this is just basically assigning everything to them, which we, in my opinion, we did once the land was swapped anyway. But I'll be glad to answer any questions, but I just want to thank Megan for all the work she put into this, and this will finally, I guess when it's all said and done, relieve us of our duties at the airport.
This is to make the airport commission happy. So I'll entertain a motion to approve. Motion by Roby. Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Motion carries. Okay, Richie, and it's yours for your
All right.
manager's report.
Before I get through, and I've got your copy here. I'll hand it out here in a little bit. But the just to let y'all know, I mean everybody's aware it may snow. I often wonder, is it really going to snow, or are we just selling Winn-Dixie and Harris Teeter ads, as my dad would say back in the day? But our latest update that we received today is we're looking at 1 to 2 inches. It does look like it may be more sleet than snow, and there's a possibility of ice. So our guys have basically taken all the precautionary actions that we generally do, fuel everything up, get everything prepared for the storm, so we're not caught off guard. But so we're ready for it. We'll do whatever it takes to make sure that our citizens are their power's on, their water and sewers working, and their streets are clear. But as you know, according to what happens and when it happens and so forth is basically what we can do. You do get to the point sometimes when you're dealing with ice that you're really worst off if you start to plow it compared to not plowing it. So we always have to kind of see what it's doing. We generally won't put a snowplow on the ground until we've got about 2 inches, because you're just really before you get that, it's useless. So I will keep you up to date as our crews do go out for that.
It's hard to get people to understand that sometimes you're better off not plowing. You make more of a mess with the
And we're
ice.
going to be dealing with cold temperatures, so the refreeze a lot of times is worse than the actual event. But just want to let you know that we are ready for it. A few dates to mention. January 15th, we have a joint meeting with LEDA and the county. And that starts at 8:30, and it is at the county's administration building. And then January 20th, the Martin Luther King Jr. Parade is at 1:30. That starts at Fifth Third and works its way down to the Court Square. And then they'll have a short ceremony on the east side of the Court Square. I did talk to Ola May. If weather is bad, they may cancel that and move it inside, but I'll let you know. I'll talk to her the day before the event and the day of. And then, as a reminder,
Now's a good time to mention, because I think Stephen Wingate wanted us to mention that the Martin Luther King breakfast is going to be at Providence this year. And normally it has been at the Citizen Center, so that's a change. I talked to Stephen today about
and
it.
is that 8 o'clock in the morning or?
8 o'clock
Yeah,
on the 20th.
yeah. And then lastly, our city offices are closed on the 20th. That means we go to a trash pickup schedule to where Monday's pickup will be Tuesday, Tuesdays will be Wednesday, and Thursdays will be Wednesday and Thursdays. So just keep that in mind as well. Just wanted to mention, and Trent did before, about our special events. I agree with the mayor. I thought the Apple Drop was one of the best events that we've ever had. It was amazing to see the crowd, and you could tell just by the people that they were having a really good time. I received a lot of feedback from, really, I deal with grandparents now more than I do with parents, but the grandparents that were there with their grandkids were excited, and they were happy that we had an event like that they could bring them to. But our city crews and all they did, the young adults and DDA, it takes a village to do something like this, and I just want to thank all of them for that. And as Trent mentioned, he's going to have some good numbers to be able to show you that we're able to pull now with Placer AI. And the same thing with the Santa's Village. DDA does a great job with that. I agree with Betty. That was 3 of the coldest weekends we could have picked, but it felt like Christmas. And I can tell you from my experience, we never stopped. The weekends I worked, we never stopped. It was constant. It was consistent. So really, really good.
That guy who drove that train, I don't know.
Well, we might want to work on that. He seemed a little iffy to me.
I think we've got about 3 or 4 that we could throw in that pot.
Yeah.
Tom just to give you credit.
But and I'd like to mention too about the train. The fire department every evening would or every morning would check the train, make sure the tires were up, get it charged, and so forth. Had to do an emergency repair one night, so I just want to thank Chief Hebner and his staff because they never complained about it. When we would take it in there in the evenings, they were ready, and if I told them something needed to be looked at, they looked at it, and a repair was made.
Just
Go ahead, man.
I was going to say, just for information, because I know that I had gotten one request. Why is the city paying for a train that was not using city money? That was tourism money, and it has to be spent on things that will bring people into the city. And so that's...
Well, and really, if you look at that, whether it's the Christmas tree, the apple at the Apple Drop, the train, money towards Apple Drop, money towards Santa Village, all that is not all of it. Some of that is coming from tourism development, and like on the train and the tree and all that did come from tourism development. And you're right, Mayor. Those are tax dollars, or those are dollars that are coming most likely from people out of Lincolnton coming to stay in Lincolnton, and we, it's hard to put a dollar amount what tourism development has spent and what it's meant to our economy, because they've done so much in the last 5 or 10 years.
And as what I was going to just say, everything was wonderful, and we got to come and spend some time at some of the different events. I think just going forward, we need to make sure that the police coverage on these things is appropriate, because it's getting bigger, and we want to encourage families to come there, and we want everybody to feel safe, and that's how we make people feel
We
safe.
talked about that this past week, and we're going to address that with the budget retreat.
That's just the only
Yeah,
thing down
yeah.
on the downside
Well,
I heard about that.
We need to make sure that we're covered, especially with the events that have happened in other cities. It could happen here, because about the time that you say that it won't happen, it could happen. And there's no reason to take that chance.
That's right.
One of the good things is we already have a special event committee. We also have a safety committee, which is pretty much made up of city employees and county employees. And so the Apple Festival event, you know, if you go there, you see we've got hard blocks in certain places. But we've got to go beyond that because, you know, if you looked at it, they had 2 police cars sitting, you know, in the way, but he was able to get around them. So you've got to think outside the box when you're thinking about trying to keep somebody from doing certain things. But at the same time, you've got to make sure you protect the people that may have to lead the event. You don't want to get it to where they can't get out.
Well, and the integrity of the event itself, you don't want it to seem like it's a prison.
But we've already made, you know, like I said, we're getting those 2 groups together to discuss it because right now is the time to do it. We generally won't have a lot of events until springtime. But we want to make sure that our events are as safe as possible for the people that come out, you know, to those. But I do agree with the mayor. It's budgetary, but we can put more money in those, you know, those overtime budgets to make sure we're fully staffed. But yeah, I agree. I think our events this year have been excellent, and we've hit probably record numbers in a lot of them. And I also wanted to mention the employee Christmas luncheon, and you know, thank all the City Hall employees, and I've got too many to list, but our Parks and Recreation employees, Public Works, Fire Department, because it's the behind the scenes stuff that they do to make that possible, and it seemed like the employees had a good time, and it's good to take a moment, you know, once a year to kind of stop and appreciate our employees and thank them for what they do. I got a call this morning from the mayor to let me know about a water leak, and Todd's guys are already on it. But you think of how cold it was this morning, and those guys are fixing to go out there and get in the cold water. So we appreciate everything they do. Wanted to mention a couple of promotions. Jeremy Burleson with the Public Works Department promoted to equipment operator. Colton Gant was promoted to distribution collections crew leader. We had several that received certificates. Brent McConnell and Marcus Shoemaker both obtained their instructor specialty certification. John Delaney, which we'll recognize next month, obtained his intermediate certification with the police department. And then Carson Williams obtained his master police officer with the police department as well. In your packet, I've got your monthly homeless report. We did see a decrease in our incidents and charges. We generally do see that when weather turns cold. Some people have relatives that they can go stay with, friends they can go stay with. So a lot of times in the heat of the summer or the worst part of the winter, we'll see a decline in numbers. And that comes back to a decline in incident reports and charges. And then in your other business, in your spreadsheet, we have sent everything to the state. Everything is good to go on the new social district days. I'm just waiting for my signage, and Betty and I talked about it. We feel more comfortable and feel like it would really be easier to communicate once the signs are up on the new days and so forth. One of the things we're going to do a little bit different, we're going to kind of do a cheat sheet for those bars and restaurants that they can hang up for their staff to understand when we serve and when we don't serve. And then also in there I put a report from United Way that gives you kind of a description of some demographics that have changed over the last few years, and a lot of it has to do with inflation. How some of those families, they may not be in the poverty level, but they are to the point where they're just above it. And that number has grown, even though the poverty level number has decreased. And I think a lot of that has to do with wages have gone up, but they've not really increased the amount, that 35,000 a year that they go by. But wages have gone above that. But in return, rent's gone up, cars have gone up, eggs have gone up, everything's gone up. So that's why you're seeing that number grow. And then I talked to Mike earlier. Just wanted to like I say, make a public announcement that we've hired Scott Clark as our new assistant city manager. Scott's with Monroe right now, and he's working his notice. But I will have him for the February meeting to come and introduce himself to everybody. And then Mike and I were talking about doing an article so the public can get to know him as well. But any questions that y'all may have about anything? Like I say, it was a busy month, but I can honestly say probably one of the best months of my career just being involved in the special events. And when you see those kids, I mean, you know, whether it's visiting with Santa or going to the apple drop or riding the train, it's a big deal. And, you know, I think that's why people want to be in Lincolnton, because we have those type of events, and we don't charge for it. It's free, and that means a lot to these families as well.
Richie, I got something. This is for the older people. I know you got an answer for it, but in case of a disaster, you know, something like they're having in California or somewhere.
Correct.
But have we got ample space if we needed to put people that their homes are destroyed or their electricity's out?
And this goes back to the county. We have an emergency center that would be opened up. And we would, like I say, we have members of our staff that would be part of that. But what you'd probably see in this area, unless the fire was in the area, we would open up the high school and utilize that. If not, then we have other schools. No, we would utilize the high school first, because that's kind of the designated area. But if it's in Lincolnton, then they may go to West Lincoln, they may go to East Lincoln. But yes, we have ability to open up shelters, and that's done through the county and the emergency services
and the Red Cross.
Yeah,
I know whenever I worked for the schools, the Red Cross coordinated a lot of the shelter usage.
I know in 2013 when we had the big flood that there were families that were driven from their house and they were able to shelter until they could get them either back to their house or in another location. So,
well, if the weather's right, most people could take it that day or so. But if you got weather like tonight,
correct,
you got to do something.
Yeah. We have the ability to do that. And like I say, that is something we plan for, and we actually go through drills every year, making sure that the equipment's there, the people are there, and the plan's there.
Is that it, Richie?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, good report. Next item on the agenda, does the news media have any questions?
Just have one on the COPS grant. I was looking at the agenda packet. The grant will cover a 5-year period. It's a 3-year grant. Could you, what is that?
You have to spend it within that 5-year period, but there's 3 years of funding, yes.
3 years of funding.
Yes.
Okay. That answer, that's it.
Yep.
Next item on the agenda, I'll entertain a motion to go into closed session, and it is general statute.
Yeah, normally our meetings are open to the public, with the exception, in accordance with NCGS 143.318.11, in this case, subpart A6, consider qualifications on basically deal with personnel issues. So with that, we can go into closed session.
Okay.
I'll make the motion, we go into closed session.
Motion by Roby, any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Anyone opposed? Motion carries.
Walk in front of him.